Gorgeous graphics, beautiful weather, and mind-bogglingly smooth frame rates. That is what you get with the latest version of Shader Patch and Pure. Now is the time to upgrade, and in this video I'm going to explain why. But first, has this video had 1,000 likes, and did you regrettably subscribe to this channel? Rhetorical questions designed to manipulate you into interacting with internet content that you'd rather avoid. For those of you that are familiar with modding and Assetto Corsa, Shader Patch and Pure, just skip ahead 1 minute. I'm now going to go over some basic information for people that are new so that they know what to get, what they need, and how to get into this terrible hobby with Assetto Corsa. Skip ahead 1 minute if you know it. If you don't, well, stick around. Right, for those of you that don't know, Assetto Corsa is currently still the best racing simulator. Force feedback, handling at the limit. Loads of people use it to train, real world race drivers use it to train. It's absolutely superb. Thankfully, Kunos made a big mistake when they developed it and made it completely open to modding, and then even more thankfully, a crazy Russian guy and some other crazy people decided to completely rewrite and redo all the graphics, weather and everything else. Bit of an oversimplification, but you can think of it as the graphics updates are called Shader Patch, and then the weather, skybox, time of day, all that kind of stuff is now called Pure. It's also worth saying that just about everybody that plays Assetto Corsa now uses a mod called Content Manager as a way to launch the game, manage content, do select settings, and also you need Content Manager for Pure and Shader Patch to work. Content Manager has basically, or quite literally, replaced Assetto Corsa's user interface outside of the actual gameplay. So the three things that you need for Assetto Corsa now are Content Manager, Shader Patch and Pure, all of which are available through Patreon. You can get Shader Patch and Content Manager through Ilya's Patreon, and you can get Pure through Peter Bose's Patreon. I've probably said their names incorrectly, but I'll link to those Patreon pages underneath the video. Now, Patreon's designed to take a monthly fee from you, so if you want to continue to support them and have continued access to updates into the future, you can keep your sub going. But if you're on a tight budget and you want to keep things below probably £4, you could just subscribe once, download the latest Shader Patch, download the latest Pure, grab your Content Manager key from Ilya's membership page, and then unsubscribe, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. You've got everything you need, and you don't need to spend any money, and no more money will be coming out of your bank account. And Ilya and Peter Bose will be crying because you ended up supporting an idiot YouTuber by being a member here instead of supporting people actually doing valuable work for sim racing and producing content that sim racers actually want. Right, so now you generally know what Shader Patch, Pure and Content Manager are. And now we're going to talk about how the latest version is substantially better than previous versions. That's not to say that the previous versions weren't amazing. I mean, if you've been watching YouTube over the years, we've had like rain, particle effects, trees, grass, all the details. This stuff has looked awesome for ages. But for those of you that are like me, that spend most of your time drinking tea and staring off into the distance wondering how you manage to waste your limited time on this planet with force feedback steering wheels and pointless racing games, for those of you that do that, you probably have held off updating Shader Patch and Pure to the very latest versions, despite, like myself, even subscribing and paying monthly to Patreon. I'm just lazy, alright guys? So if you've held off, now though is the time to actually upgrade, because with the latest Shader Patch and Pure, I think things have just reached a certain quality level that's absolutely superb and noticeably different than previous versions. A key thing as well, just from a logistical sense, is no longer the separation of having Soul and Pure and having to think about that. It is just Pure now. I didn't really want to bring up Soul because I don't want to confuse new users, but basically Pure is all there is now, so that's fantastic. And well, Shader Patch, you know, as I said, it's always had really good features, but I think, and what I noticed when I updated to this latest version, the image quality just seemed better. It's a lot of small, subtle things coming together that make the end result just seem that much more polished and nicer. Weirdly to me, it seems actually that anti-aliasing or the aliasing has reduced in Assetto Corsa with this latest update. I'm not sure what setting that is, if it is aliasing, if it's mip-mapping, if it's just lighting and textures. I don't know exactly, or tweaks to the renderer, but the game actually just looks a lot smoother and a lot sharper whilst being smooth, which is a rare thing in modern games these days. But then also, and crucially, I seem to get better frame rate performance as well with this latest version of Shader Patch and Pure. Specifically, even when my frame rates dropped, things seem to drop in a more predictable and smoother way. So I think the frame timing is something that's also improved with these latest updates, which if you've got an OLED screen, or maybe if you're playing in VR, those sorts of things, if you're really anally retentive and a bit of a weirdo, those sorts of things actually have a really big impact on the quality of play and immersion. So the end result is just a really big shift in quality. And largely, it's really just bug fixes and improvement and polish that really stand out with the latest version. They have, of course, added loads of new features, both in Pure and Shader Patch. I'm not going to go over them all and just read the feature list. If you want to know all the individual improvements and changes, go on their Patrons, read all the bullet points. For the sake of this video, that's going to bore everyone to death. Though it would take up a lot of time, and it is a good technique to use on YouTube to do that. Yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic. You owe it to yourself to try it. As you can see in the footage here, there is one part of the update to Shader Patch and Pure that isn't particularly desirable. I mean, it's fantastic. As a Brit, I have now experienced what it's like to look at the sun, something I've never done before, so amazing. They do have a sun blinding effect, which is very annoying, but you can turn that off in the settings, and also people with different PP filters will also adjust that. It's more there for people to use, but as you can see, it's great. It is quite realistic if you've ever driven in the morning with the sun in your face, but it's very annoying when you're trying to race. So that's probably the only bad thing. You can turn it off, as I say, but all in all, just absolutely superb and incredible the quality that Assetto Corsa brings, especially if you do online racing. You can host servers through Content Manager and just have people come in, or there's other leagues and things taking place, and the racing is amazing fundamentally because AC has very realistic handling cars, specifically at the limit, ignoring curbing. AC curbing's broken. Content Manager is actually Shader Patch is working on that, but also the force feedback, the handling and force feedback at its core is amazing in AC. And although the netcode's not the best, the end result is much better racing than premium expensive services like iRacing, for example, where you can have a small car contact, you can have close racing, even with you hosting it yourself, even with just online league racing, because everything about the physics and the force feedback and everything else accommodates that better. So absolutely incredible. We have such a gorgeously looking and functioning simulator with all these tracks, all these cars, anything you can imagine. And we should be very grateful for it, because the alternative is you have Microsoft doing Forza Motorsport, which drives worse than stuff from 20 plus years ago. Though it could be worse, don't get me wrong. Graphics are not too bad, but it's worse than this. This game is running at 4K, 120 FPS, VR support, everything else going on, multiple screens, movable widgets. And then you got Forza Motorsport, it's like, what is going on? It's 60 FPS, it doesn't look that good. And also just buggy jumping, warping, and all this other stuff going on. And then you have like WRC, which is chronically unfinished, doesn't run well. The new games are just so bad compared to what you get from a game from 2014 with the work that modders have done to it. This is the pinnacle and the essence of what PC gaming and what I think sim racing has to offer, really, and it's incredible. So big applause to Ilya, Peter Bose, Kunos for originally making the terrible decision of making Assetto Corsa open. I don't know how they're going to improve on AC with AC2. We'll have to wait and see. But superb. You owe it to yourselves now to get Content Manager if you haven't, the latest Shader Patch, the latest Pure, and to then join us in our online races that we've been doing, where we've been racing some of the best Assetto Corsa mod content. This is the Megane Trophy here. We've been driving the RSS F3 car, the RSS F2 car, which is surprisingly good. and it's been fantastic fun, mostly crashing into people that are subscribers of the channel, but it's just cathartic. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, guys. Hopefully the information in it was useful for you. Subscribe, click the like button if you haven't, or you want to, whatever. But until the next one, happy tea drinking, take care, and goodbye.